Oh, hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. It's May 20th, and you're watching our daily pandemic coverage. I love to do it every day at noon. Either I sit in this chair, or my friends Sheila Gunn Reid and David Menzies do. And the funnest part about it is we take your calls, not like a radio call-in show, but we do it in the form of live chat, super chat, as it's called on Google. I try and go through little video clips and stuff that I find throughout the week that I don't use in my evening show. And I've been rambling a bit lately, so I'm going to try and stick to these video clips that Justin has outlined for me. But I just heard, like 5 minutes ago, that Jim Karahalios, who was a candidate for the Conservative Party leadership, who was thrown out of the leadership, had all his funds seized, or parts of his funds seized, was thrown out by unelected, unaccountable, appointed, secret bureaucrats in the party because he wrote some mean comments about his opponent's campaign chairman. I mean, welcome to politics. They threw him out, he took them to court, and he won. And I predicted this, I knew he would, because he had a very similar quarrel with the provincial PC party in Ontario, and he beat them too. And it's some of the exact same people who were involved. In the particular case, Waleed Solomon, a senior lawyer at a large firm called Norton Rose, Waleed Solomon was the best buddy of Patrick Brown, the former leader of the Ontario PCs, sued Jim Karahalios and lost. That same Waleed Solomon is chairman of Aaron O'Toole's campaign. Jim poked fun at him. He surely was behind this complaint, and he lost too. It's almost like courts want politics to be decided politically, democratically, not through some lawsuit. I'm thrilled that Jim Karahalios won. I think that he may or may not be the best person to lead the party, but whether or not he is up to the party members, not to some lawsuit. Justin, do you have anything on this? I just verbally, A10 came in and said it happened. Maybe. Yeah, that's public. Go ahead and put it online. All court rulings are public unless there's a publication ban. So let's go through this together. Can you pump up the font size one notch? Thank you very much. So this is hot off the press. As you can see in the top right, it says May 2010. Now, for folks who don't care about this, I'm going to take about 10 minutes on this, and then I'm going to get to the other stuff. But look at that. Dimitrios Karahalios, that's the legal name of Jim, versus the Conservative Party of Canada, who had 3 lawyers. Reasons for the decisions. J. Perel is the name of the judge. It starts with a little quote from the Bible. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land when ye dwell. That is a very unusual way to start a ruling, but maybe they're suggesting that Jim Karahalios is a prickly thorn. And you know what? They're not wrong. How many pages is this thing? A lot. Let me just read the opening part and then we'll whip through it. I'm not going to read this whole thing. The plaintiff, Dimitrios Jim Karahalios, was a candidate for the leadership of the Conservative Party. On March 18th, the Conservative Party disqualified Mr. Karahalios because of a complaint from Aaron O'Toole. Keep going. I'm paraphrasing here. Mr. Karahalios, who strenuously denies being a racist, believes he was a thorn in the side of the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party's establishment unlawfully took the opportunity of Mr. O'Toole's complaint to throw him out. Mr. Karahalios brings a summary judgment for mandatory orders restoring his candidacy. Part 6, he seeks the following relief: a declaration that his disqualification was invalid, that he's a valid candidate, that he get his money back. Point 7, as I shall explain below, says the judge, in my opinion, there was no procedural unfairness and there was no bad faith. There was nothing untoward or unlawful about the CRO's ruling, which was to impose a penalty but not to disqualify Mr. Karahalios. However, under the leadership rules, the DRAC did not have the authority to disqualify Mr. Karahalios. The authority to disqualify is reserved to the 18 members of the leadership something committee, which has never formally or properly considered the matter. It follows that the appropriate decision is to set aside the decision and restore the CRO's ruling. So thus, for the reasons that follow, I grant Mr. Karahalios summary judgment. I declare that the decision to disqualify him is invalid. I declare that if Mr. Karahalios complies with the ruling, dated March 17th, within 14 days, he is a verified leadership candidate. So it sounds like they're fining him a certain amount. I order that within 20 days, the Conservative Party pay what are known as directed contributions to Jim. I order that this is without prejudice to further decisions. All right. Well, that's all I need to know. Thanks very much. So I don't want to get lost in the weeds, but as I mentioned just a moment ago, Jim Karahalios wrote a critical email about Aaron O'Toole, and in particular Aaron O'Toole's campaign chairman, Walid Solomon. O'Toole complained like a whiny school brat running to the school marm. He called me a name. Toughen up, buddy. If you want to be the prime minister, you're going to have to be a little bit tougher than that. If someone says something critical of you, you can't run to mummy and complain every time. How pitiful is that? I mean, maybe Jim was wrong, maybe Jim was right, but to whine and try and get your competitor disqualified, cancel culture style, deplatforming style, that shows actually really bad judgment and bad character in my mind. And what a great pleasure to have that slapped down by a court. I could see it coming, and I did in fact predict it, because Jim Karahalios, this isn't his first rodeo. I just love the fact that the judge starts off by talking about a thorn in their side. You know, in a democracy, it's not illegal to be a thorn in someone's side. Lots of super chats coming in. Are you going to send them to me on WhatsApp? So I'm going to, they go by so quickly on the feed there. So, okay, so I'm not going to talk more about the Jim Karahalios matter, but it is very exciting that he's back in the race. And that has got to be an unhappy moment for Aaron O'Toole, because not only is he embarrassed, the Conservative Party itself should be extremely embarrassed that they threw a guy out because he was, fighting elbows up. You're not going to win. You're not going to win against Justin Trudeau if you're not a fighter. Okay, let me catch up with some super chats. VM Parliament, $5. Will you ever run for office? You've got my vote. Conservative Party is seriously hurting. I briefly ran for office. I don't know if you know this. Almost 20 years ago, I briefly ran for office in a by-election in Calgary Southwest. And, I won the nomination. I had campaign signs going up. But 5 weeks before Election Day, it was a special by-election, the Canadian Alliance Party, as it was then known, chose a new leader who did not have a seat in the House of Commons. So Stephen Harper needed a seat to run in. And I was somewhat unceremoniously pushed aside. So I haven't contemplated a run since then. I'm pretty busy running the Rebel, but who knows? I mean, maybe one day. I think I'm having too much fun doing this right now. Richard Summers, $14 suggestion, picture of two Michaels in jail in China with the number of days under their picture. Show everyone they are not forgotten. That's not even a bad idea. Justin, I wonder if on our social media side, if literally once a day, we would have a picture of the two Michaels and then 560 days held hostage for 560 days. Next day, held hostage 561 days. We do probably 10, 20 tweets a day. I think literally every day, just to update that and have a little tweet. I think that's a good idea. I think we can do that. Thank you very much for the suggestion, Richard. Once we have the template, we just change the number of days. Zachary, just a quick thing on that. I remember when I was a kid, Soviet dissidents were a thing, because I grew up during the Cold War, and some of the dissidents became internationally famous. Their name was known, and they were like the most famous, I think, was Anatoly Sharansky, who now goes by Nathan Sharansky, And there was a thing that people did, kids. They would wear a little bracelet with the name of these Soviet dissidents on them. And I remember, I don't remember it very clearly, but when a kid who had this met one of the dissidents who was freed and took it off, it was quite an emotional thing. I think it's meaningful for both people involved. Meaningful that we carry with us the thought of captives and that they know someone cares about them, and they might not know till later. But I can only imagine if the two Michaels get out, if they were to know that people cared, it would somehow cleanse them internally of the harm that's being done, to know that for every harm that was done to them, there were people of goodwill outside the prison who cared. I wonder if we should even go that far, to have a little, I stand with Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. I don't know if that's too heavy duty. I just know that as a kid, people wore those bracelets for Soviet dissidents, democracy activists in the Soviet Union. Something to think about for us, but for sure we can do the daily meme. Zachary Zillman, do you ever correct the JT fingernail picture? It was a metal ball on all the benches. I hate JT, but we need to stick to facts. Really? Okay, I had not heard that before. I thought that was a really, let's show that picture. A metal ball. Okay. I thought that was a really weird fingernail. A metal ball on all the benches. Okay. I accept that correction. I wouldn't have guessed. It looks like a really weird fingernail. Okay, consider that a correction. Thank you, Zachary. Basil, the pump and seagull. $5. CPC will crash and burn again. The only thing left to do is for the West to separate. That's it. Well, it's sort of a pretty low octane leadership race, I hate to say. Listen, I like Jim. He's a rabble rouser like me. I like Leslie Lewis. What's not to like? I like Derek Sloan. He showed some courage. Peter MacKay, I don't have a lot of opinions about him. He feels pretty liberal to me, and it feels like the fire's not burning in him for this. And Aaron O'Toole, I don't know well at all. Frankly, on paper, he would be my least worst choice, but he showed terrible character by trying to deplatform his opponent. And he's a real, I'm going to swear now, he's a real chicken shit. For a military veteran who has shown great courage in the face of danger, to not want to come on a political show here at the Rebel, even despite promising Rebel News that he would do it, it shows that a man like Aaron O'Toole, who is not afraid of physical things, I think he was a pilot or a navigator in a search and rescue mission, so there's a man with great physical courage and great personal courage. But he's afraid to come on to talk to the Rebel because the mean girls in Ottawa will say, how dare you? Sorry, mate, you got to show some of that courage you've shown in your previous career, in your political career. It's actually the most important aspect of a politician's character, is their courage. Otherwise, I honestly think that of the B team and the C team that's running here, I would probably choose Aaron O'Toole were it not for the fact that he shows great political cowardice and poor judgment. I mean, seriously, if Aaron O'Toole is worried that he's going to be beaten by Jim Karahelios, he's got bigger problems. And if he thinks that complaining to the teacher to try and get his opponent disqualified is a solution, that ain't right. And I don't know if that was his judgment, but it certainly blew up in his face today, didn't it? Basil, the pump and seagull. Max needs to learn English but first before PPC can even be a thing. You're wasting your time until the guy's actually able to communicate. You're talking about Max Bernier. His English is not bad. It's certainly better than most politicians' French. I think his bigger problem is not his communication skills, but rather the fact that he's not an MP. Pat Boys Calgary, $5. I want to elect a fighter for the Conservative leadership. No mealy mouth go along to get along. Sino partium communista delenda est. The Chinese Communist Party must be destroyed. Always a good way to end a tweet. Graham, $5. Do you think it's possible that the reason Trudeau is hiding in his cottage is because he doesn't want to wear a mask? No, he emerged the other day and he did wear a mask. So I think he's just mentally checked out. I think he's burnt out. He's lost his mojo. Yeah, there he is. He was wearing that mask out and about. Unjust on Trudeau, who do you think should have run for CPC that didn't? Well, the obvious choice is the real leader of the opposition these days. His name is Jason Kenney. and he has another job naming Premier of Alberta. So he absolutely would have been the runaway favorite. I don't even think other people would have run if he had thrown his name in the ring. Frankly, I think he could have won the last federal election, too. But, you know. Okay, it's 12:15. We covered the breaking news. I read to you some portions from the court case. Are there any other funny quirks? I love the fact that judge started with that somewhat cryptic quote from the Bible. That shows a sense of humor by the judge. The judge is saying, this guy is a prickly thorn, but you got to follow the law. I think there's something really beautiful about that. The Burbinski, what's the update on the new book you said was coming? Well, book's done. In fact, I showed it around the office yesterday. We're just fighting with Amazon. Hopefully we'll have that fight resolved in the next couple days. Basil Pump and Siegel, can someone get Lewis a few sessions with Tony Robbins so she can actually project some authority when she speaks? If she can do that, she has a chance. My thoughts on Leslie Lewis is she's got a lot of great building blocks. I think she needs a term as an MP to get some seasoning, as they say, get a little more experience. I don't think you can go from being a private individual to leader of the party and prime minister in one fell swoop. Donald Trump, of course, you could say, well, he went from an individual private citizen to president. That's not really our system. And of course, he had tremendous executive experience and was a household name. So I think you need an interim step. You can't leap straight from being a private individual to the boss. I just don't think. Okay. I got a question for you. I was thinking about this today. If someone put actual metal chains around you and chained you in your home, and by the way, in some parts of China, I think that they actually welded people into their apartments as part of the quarantine. I saw some visuals of that. I showed those to you about a month ago. If someone actually put you in chains, would you try and get out of them? Would you maybe take a hammer or an axe and try and break the chains, or maybe even find a welder who could cut through them with a blowtorch or something? If you were actually in metal chains. I know that sounds like crazy. We were talking about Soviet dissidents who were in chains. Would you try and get out of actual chains? I think you would, but maybe you wouldn't. And the reason I say that is, have you been to your local playground lately? Those things are sealed off with yellow caution tape. Can you show the picture of that mom? Julie Borowski, I hereby declare that the playgrounds are open. And look at that. There's a chain there, but it's a chain, I think, on a swing. On a swing. She pulled the yellow caution tape off. How many likes and dislikes and whatever does that thing have? It's got a bit. So so there's a chain there, which is ironic, but it's part of the playground. Look at that smile. Seems like a nice lady. Beautiful park. I don't even know where she lives. I think she's an American. And the reason I ask you about metal chains is because if you will not pull off even the ribbons, the gentle, light, rippable, cuttable ribbons that confine you, that fetter you, why do you think you would take off a chain? If you cannot even rouse yourself to go sit on a park bench or a playground because of some paper tape, don't tell me you'd get a blowtorch to take off a metal chain. It's almost like they had a spider web chain on you. Oh, I don't know if I should. It's just a spider web, just flicking. You can breathe on it and break it. Oh, but I don't know if I should. I think I should comply. Because the prime minister who breaks social distancing rules, who crosses provincial lines, the premier who goes to his cottage, The mayor of Toronto, who doesn't wear a mask and doesn't social distance, all these fancy pants elites who are breaking the rules themselves, they tell me that I can't break that police tape, that I can't break the cobwebs, so I better not. I better not. I'd better dress up like an idiot. Do we have, I think it was a tweet that Paul Joseph Watson did, showing some of the goofy hats that some restaurants, it's almost like being a jester. People have these big swimming pool noodles, they're called, like these long, floaty, they're like a noodle. Can you find that on Paul Joseph Watson's Twitter feed? So a tiny ribbon stops you from using an empty playground. This is the one, thank you. Look at that. Look at that. Customers at German cafe wear hats with pool noodles to enforce social distancing. Yeah. Thing is, you wear that on a date, and people will socially distance from you because you're so frickin' weird and compliant and submissive and no self-respect. Imagine that being, hey, live in a pod, eat bugs, socially distance from each other, never go back to work, be afraid, obey a ribbon. You know, so far in Canada, fewer deaths from the virus than on any given year from the flu. That's a fact. Any given year in Canada, I was on the Statistics Canada website just yesterday, the flu and pneumonia kill between 6,500 and 8,500 Canadians a year. And what's the virus at now, about 5,500? It's a madness, people. All right. We had some more super chats. Let me catch up on those, and then I'm going to go back to some videos. Candace W., our media spend too much time talking about Trump and his flaws, while zero time talking about JT and the Liberal Party and their flaws. Oh yeah, it's a placebo, it's a projection, it's a misdirection. You know, a lot of magic shows are not magic, of course. They're misdirection. It's look over here, while, you know, over here he hides something. It's misdirection. Look up there. Everybody looks up there, and then he does something down here. Misdirection. The media party in Canada gives you the simulation of holding power to account by bravely holding to account the leader of a foreign country, Donald Trump. First of all, whose own media needs no help in opposing him. Secondly, it's not like it hasn't, when the CBC weighs in on Donald Trump, it's not like he cares. There are no electoral college votes in Toronto for Donald Trump. He really doesn't care what Canada thinks. But he gives the simulation of speaking truth to power. If you've ever watched Trudeau's press conferences, you'll never see a more submissive media in your life. If you watch Trump's press conferences, you'll never see a more aggressive media in your life. That tells you all you need to know. And Canadian journalists who have the opportunity to hold power to account choose not to because they're being paid. $1.5 billion a year from Trudeau to the state broadcaster CBC, $600 million in the last newspaper bailout. So they criticize Donald Trump and it's all pretend. Basil, the pump and seagull, $10. I like Max, but he will get shredded by the mainstream media every time because he can't enunciate a rebuttal properly. I only mention him at all because there's still people in here saying he's their only chance. Oh, believe me, Maxime Bernier's accent is not what makes the media shred him. The media shreds anyone who is a conservative, let alone a dissident, populist, closed borders, global warming skeptic, UN skeptic. In fact, the accent is probably what makes them go easy on him if they ever do. Hard money, $5. Democratic socialism. I believe the globalists are aiming for such a system. Can we see the democratic socialism here in Canada very clear? I say yes. Oh, we're well past that. But democratic socialism can actually be nationalist too. We're talking about a globalist socialism, which I fear much more. Travis Colson, $7. People don't, because the majority of the public is brainwashed and will criticize and shame us. Well, that's one of our roles here. I feel like Rebel News has done some good work in the past 2 months, especially David Menzies, who's been out and about. David Anderson, $5. Julie Borowski is an American libertarian who used to do political comedy on YouTube, but is mostly busy being a mom these days. CCP Delinda Est. I thought I recognized her, and I give her credit for showing a little bit of courage and tearing off the chains that weren't chains, but rather very breakable police ribbon. Wyland S., $2. What political party would you endorse? I mean, obviously, if the election were held today, I would vote for the party most likely to unseat Justin Trudeau, which would be the Conservative Party. I don't like the leadership roster of candidates particularly. I don't really particularly think they can win. But that's just my answer to your question. All right, let's get back on track. It's 12:26. You know, Julie Borowski, who's an American, I guess, I think there's a bit of more of that spirit in America to break off chains, partly because that country was formed in a revolution, not an evolution like Canada's. And I want to show you a little tweet. And this is by a guy who I've only started following in the last week or so. His last name's Portnoy. I can't remember his first name. He's Dave Portnoy, and he's funny. And he's the head of Barstool Sports. Can you show me the original clip, and then we'll go, yeah, scroll down a bit to the one, you can go scroll down in his feed there. And he just tweeted a clip of some Boston businessman. I'll get to these super chats in a minute, I promise. Can you go to Dave? Okay, so here's a clip that Portnoy tweeted, I think just yesterday. Take a look.
I have to give up my business that I worked 25 years, sacrificed my life for, okay? For coronavirus, I'll take coronavirus over losing my business, okay? And I guarantee you, 99% of the people who are here will do the same thing.
Who are here? I gotta park my car too far from Harvard Yard. I love that Boston accent, and when it's spoken with fierce determination, 99% of people here, don't mind me getting distracted by the accent. That's America for you, beautiful accents. Play that clip one more time. I shouldn't have addressed the accent, although I just enjoyed it. What I actually enjoyed was his passion and his determination and his defiance. Play that one more time and I won't make a silly comment.
I have to give up my business that I worked 25 years, sacrificed my life for, okay? For coronavirus, I'll take coronavirus over losing my business, okay? And I guarantee you, 99% of the people who are here will do the same thing.
That's courage. That's courage. That's plain spoken. That's American. Boston Tea Party. Shouldn't surprise you, am I right? I wish we had a little bit more of that spirit up here. So Dave Portnoy, what's that? Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports tweets that. That's a Portnoy kind of guy. Plain spoken, likes sports, a man's man, businessman, telling it like it is, 15 seconds, says it right. So Portnoy tweets this. And then Trump retweets Portnoy. And here's Portnoy, who makes me laugh so hard. Take a look. Woke up to take a piss. Check. Retweeted by President of the United States. Check. Back to sleep. Check. He's so funny, Portnoy. He's one of my favorite guys. I think I played a clip from him the other day when he was talking about, we were told we had to bend the curve. We were told it was 2 weeks. It's 2 months now. Now they're waiting. Can you play his old clip? You know this clip where he went on a rant a bit saying, we have to wait till there's a cure now? That wasn't the deal. You're changing the deal. I like this guy so much. I really was not aware of him until the last week or so. And I'm following him, and he's very amusing. He's a great storyteller. And again, the accent, love the style, great sense of humor, a little bit sassy, very funny. And I really didn't even know the guy until he went on this rant about the changing deal, the changing terms. You know the one? Justin's getting that clip. In the meantime, I'll read a couple more super chats just to catch up here. Ezra, this is why whoever goes against the media has to have the authority of a Trump. Honestly, I think Kevin O'Leary would have been exactly the tornado Canadian politics needed. I agree with you in his style and his confidence, but he really is an American. And I think he was dabbling and having some fun up here, but I don't think Kevin O'Leary would do it because he's having too much fun and making too much money, and he doesn't want the hard work in politics. Angela Little, $2, thanks very much. Matthias Vuhr, $5. Tuesday show, are you proposing a Logan's Run society, under 40 segregate from over 40? You know, it's actually over 70s and over 80s that we have to protect, and really anyone in a senior's home. I'm not saying to segregate, I'm saying let's put 90% of our medical care and protection on the truly vulnerable, people 75 and up, and let's let young people get on with their lives, summer camps, schools, working. That's all I'm saying. Unjust Trudeau, $2, Ezra, start your own rebel political party. Well, we are activists. We have an ideology. We promote it. We do things. And it's part of the political system. We're just not a party. Did you find the Portnoy clip? Okay, here, I just want to show you this Portnoy clip before I move on. This is what really got me hooked on this guy. Take a listen.
Love me. We'll see where this one lands. What the fuck's going on? When did this become flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve to we have to find a cure or everyone's gonna die? Like Fauci. Seems like a nice enough dude. I've always been the guy, no agenda. Looks like he could be maybe the grandfather in Wedding Crashers. Gets in front of the Senate. He's like, we reopen the country too quick, everyone's dead. Where'd that come from? And the LA mayor. We're not opening the city till we find a cure? What? Find a cure? Who says we're going to find a cure? We haven't found a cure to cancer. It took AIDS 20 years or whatever. Do we even have a cure? So the economy just shut down? All we've heard forever, flatten the curve, make sure there's hospital beds. We're there. Now all of a sudden it's like a 180. This is like taking a cross-country flight, 6 hours. They tell you flight 6 hours. 5 hours and a half go by. They get on the intercom like, oh, just kidding, we have another 10 hours. You can't do that. People have been mentally preparing. We're doing what you ask. We've done exactly what you said. Now you're changing the rules. And some states are open, some closed. LA shutting down, New York shutting down, Arizona's opening, Florida's opening. Seems along political lines. What is going on? And what about people who own businesses and economies and shit like that? You can't stay closed indefinitely. Imagine working for like a year, 5 years, 10 years, 2 decades, grinding your fingers to the bone to build the business. Barstool, thank God, will be all right. I'm talking about other businesses. People have jobs who've worked their whole fucking lives off to put food on the table, create a happy living. They're just going to go out of business? They're going to wake up whenever this thing ends, whenever the mayors say, oh, you can go back to work? Work to what? Your company's going to be out of business. The economy's going to be in the shitter. There's going to be no jobs. How the fuck are you going to pay for your family, put food on the table, all that shit? Like, what are you doing? You got to give these people a choice. If you told me, because of Corona, I lost Barstool, I had to go get a 9 to 5 and start fucking over, I'd rather die of Corona, seriously. Or at least take my chances. I'm not saying everybody would do that. I would. But if I've dedicated 20 years of my life, I don't want to start over. I'll fucking deal with Corona. You can't just make everybody stay inside and basically start over. It's insane. Like, what the fuck do they think is going to happen? At some level, we've done what you've asked us to do. If you're that scared still of Corona, stay inside. The beds are open. It doesn't kill everybody. I get it. It's not a great option. There are no great options. But you can't just decimate the entire economy. How the fuck is that going to work? We're staying inside till there's a cure? When did that become the game? Who said we're getting the cure? That's not a guarantee. So we're just done as humans? Get the hell out of here. There's risk. We're Americans. You have to take risk. If people want to go out, they can go out. If they want to stay in, they stay in. We've done what you've said. You can't just midstream be like, just kidding. Flatten the curve, flatten the curve. Cure. What? When did this happen? When did this happen? And it can't sustain. At least we have a chance if we go out with Corona, like Switzerland and those places that just let it roll. We have no chance if you don't let people go outside. This country is going to be donezo. No one's going to have jobs. No one's going to have businesses. It's going to be done.
I forgot how much swearing there was there, but I didn't find it gratuitous. I think that's just his style. I found that very compelling. And he's become one of my new follows, and he's got a great sense of humor. He's a man of many interests. And I wish we had a little bit more of that spirit up here. I feel like we're too passive. If we can't even find the courage to take off that stupid caution tape from a playground when not a single person under 20 has died from the cough, when not a single case of casual outdoor transmission has ever been proved, surely we would, you know what, you wouldn't even need a thin cobweb of chains. You would just need someone to say, oh, Justin Trudeau, Doug Ford, and John Tory say you can't leave your house. Oh, I can't. We have no independent spirit. I shouldn't say no, there are some of us who do. But it's remarkably scant, don't you think? Let me read some more super chats, and then I'm going to try and get through. It's what time are we? It's 12:36. I'm going to try and get through some vids because we got some good vids. Let me just catch up here. Should Trump, this is Damon the Dam, it's $5. Should Trump interfere in Hong Kong, or should he force that tech center industry in Hong Kong back to America? Well, I think Hong Kong is so many things. It's a shipping center, it's import-export, it's finance, it is manufacturing. Frankly, I don't think tech when I think Hong Kong, but I'm sure there is a fair bit of tech. I think, and I saw a news story today, I can't find, I don't even know what to search, Justin, but I see that Trump just made a contract with a U.S. pharmaceutical to bring back their factory to America. I think it was like $1/3 of $1 billion contract. That's what needs to be done. Critical industries brought back to America, both a stick and a carrot. The stick is tariffs if you stay. The carrot is we'll frankly pay you. Yeah, looks like you found it there. Trump, there's so many pop-ups, eh? Trump takes a first step towards returning medical supply chains to the U.S. This is from the Washington Post. White House officials call the multi-million-dollar contract with Virginia-based Flow Corp a potential landmark in returning pharmaceutical manufacturers from overseas. The Trump administration said it awarded a $354 million contract to a Virginia startup that will produce a variety of generic drugs and their ingredients, including medicines used to treat COVID-19, at advanced manufacturing facilities in the United States. I won't read more of it. You can find it yourself. So, I forget the dollar amount there, $250, $350, whatever. Sounds like a lot of money, right? And it is. But in the context of this whole pandemic, it's a rounding error. It is literally cheaper for America and for Canada to pay companies to move their factories, to pay the bill to move their factories back here than to suffer the consequences of having China integral into our supply chain. That is cheaper, let alone more patriotic, better for jobs, better for security. It's cheaper. Basil the Pumpkin Seagull, $10. Those saying O'Leary sucks, yes, he does, but the tornado he would have caused in Canadian politics would have allowed true conservatives to jump in the whirlwind. Right now we have nothing. I agree with that. The reason Trump is so effective is that, I mean, I see this every time. You don't even see it anymore because no one even tries to fight on talk shows, and talk shows don't even invite real conservatives anymore. But in Canada, you would have somebody, a conservative would say, I put Proposition X forward, whatever that is. And the liberals would say, do you mean to say Proposition X? And they wouldn't even have an argument, just, oh my God, did you really say that? And the conservative would say, oh yeah, right, sorry. Like just the boop was enough to make conservative pundits say, oh yeah, I didn't really mean that. So you have a lack of courage, Aaron O'Toole style. And you know what, they call it pundits panels. They're not, they're lobbyist panels. So many of the people you see on TV as pundits are not pundits. They're people in the influence peddling business, so they will not offend the powers that be because their income depends on having connections and contacts with the establishment. So yeah, someone who is independently wealthy and very mouthy is what's needed to take on the establishment. Tobias Magnus, $5. I just joined in a moment ago. Have you already given an update on the court case against Trudeau? No. I gave an update on the Jim Carahelios case. He won, and he's back in the Conservative leadership race. Jack R, $2. I'm going to whip through some more super chats. I'm going to do it in 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back to what you asked me about, which is our court case. Webley Pug, $5. Daily flights from mainland China. Are they Canadians returning home? Who are they? Tourists? Do we know where they go once they arrive here? That's a great question, and it's a question that David Menzies has investigated many times, and we were thinking of sending him back to the airport to ask those very questions again. So I'll keep you posted when we do. John Turner, $20. Thank you to Rebel Team for bringing us real news. Trudeau needs to go, but not sure we could trust the replacement either. We can only hope to get the best of the worst. Yeah, isn't that a shame that our standards are so low, but that's how it is. Jack R, $2. Thank you. Cat, my scrappin' mama, $2. Thank you. Jimmy Lawrence, $2. You following peak prosperity yet? No, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Grizzly Patriot, $7. We are planning a massive protest on Canada Day, as it would be great if you could help promote the event. More info here. Okay, I'll take a look. Basil again, thank you. Protests are useless, people. If you want to help, there are a couple of class action suits against the Trudeau government. Pick one and help fund it. No, I disagree with you absolutely. There's nothing moves slower than a class action suit. They're delayed for years just on certifying the class. And by the way, class action suits don't need money. There are law firms that litigation finance it. They fund it themselves because they're so lucrative when they pay off. So number one, I don't think class action suits need money. Number two, they're so extremely slow. Whereas I do think protests can work. In fact, I think that the protests at Queen's Park in Ontario, as well as David's own journalism, like tear down this wall, the wall at High Park in Toronto, actually did have an effect. So I disagree with you on that. I believe lawsuits are important too, as Jim Carahelios just proved, but protests too. Mankind, $5. How many people do you think COVID is waking up? Millions, hundreds of millions, billions? No. For every person that's waking up to freedom, for everyone who is red-pilled, like Elon Musk. Give me that red pill tweet from Elon Musk. There are 10 people who are racing to surrender their freedoms in the name of comfort and security. But if you give up your freedom for security, you'll have neither. Abraham Lincoln told us that. El Chepacabra, nice to have you back, $28, thank you. Do you think the people of Hong Kong will take to the streets after the latest Beijing takeover? Well, it's tricky because, of course, authorities will say you can't come and mass protest anymore. What about the virus? So I don't know if there'll be mass protests. I was so glad that we sent Avi Yamini and then Kian Bexley to report from the ground in Hong Kong last year. I think that will be more difficult this year. We got the tweet from Elon Musk here. Take the red pill. Boy, did that get a lot of likes, more than 500,000. I don't know what that was in reaction to. Maybe it was the fact that Elon Musk was fighting the bullies, political bullies, to shut down his factory. And he said, I'm opening it no matter what. And they blinked, because he's a powerful man with a lot of money and a lot of lawyers and some national name recognition. So they literally said, you're shutting your factory down. He literally said, no, we're not, and I will personally be there and you can arrest me. And obviously the cowardly politicians blinked. And I love that, take the red pill. That, of course, is a line from the movie The Matrix, but it's also become a symbolic statement for people waking up to the reality of the world from a conservative point of view. What's so funny is that his mother-in-law, Sandy Garrison, so he just had a baby girl with Grimes, the musician. Well, Grimes' mom is a socialist activist in BC, in Canada. And she was chirping at him, shaming him on Twitter for that tweet. What a weird thing to have a public family airing of your family laundry in public. I would hate to have Sandy Garrison as my mother-in-law. What a haranguing, unpleasant woman at the best of times. And to have her bitch about you in public like that, that is not a good, I mean, every family has their problems, every family has their disagreements, but to take to Twitter to shame and harass your son-in-law, I don't know if they're formally married, it's just so gross. That's a lefty for you, isn't it? Jimmy Lawrence, $2, you are a controlled opposition hack. Yeah, man, I'm absolutely in the pocket of Justin Trudeau. When I sued him in federal court last October and won, and got my reporters in to ask him, for example, about his allegations of his improprieties at West Point Grey Academy with girls. That was absolutely controlled opposition. I was controlled opposition, so was the federal court, and so were our journalists. You got me there, mate. Fried Cake 7, hi Ezra, have you ever seen the video of Catherine McKenna swimming tethered to her pool? What a great metaphor for the Liberal Party. Lots of splashing around but going nowhere. That's so funny. Can we get that? And can we get The Simpsons? She is so odd, that Catherine McKenna. She is the queen of the cringy tweets. Remember her drunk tweet from that bar in Newfoundland? Oh my God, was that incredible. But I mean, she's a swimmer, and good for her. She stays fit. Not everyone can afford a little pool in their own backyard. Not everyone's a multimillionaire cabinet minister. And not everyone who did enjoy a pool in their backyard would think to tweet about it, to show the poors what the other side lives like. But what struck me the most was how weird it was. I get it, you can't do laps, so you're tethering yourself and you're just swimming, tied to a rope. Getting this sorted out is how I spent the long weekend, and now I can get my swim on. I feel better already. And she's just swimming, tied to a rope, and I guess she had her husband or a staffer, I don't know, film it, because just so we could watch that. Can we get the Simpsons one too, with sound on tape, not just the GIF? It's really funny. It's really funny. So Justin's going to dig up the Simpsons viz that's on point with that. I talked about the American spirit and how I think, yeah, I call it the American spirit, but why should it be called the American spirit? It's a spirit of free people. I mean, Hong Kong has shown that spirit. Individuals in Hong Kong, they're not American. You can show that it's free. Taiwan. Here's the Simpsons clip. Take a look.
This gets uglier every year. Any sign of Barton Millhouse? No. And if they don't get here soon, it'll be TS for them.
I don't feel right.
I don't feel right. Tethered swimming. Hey, so what was your sport in high school? Well, you did track and you did football and you did basketball. What was your sport? Tethered swimming. How do you know if you win? No. We know. None of you won. I want to show you a gym in New Jersey. And the governor ordered the gym closed, and the police ordered the gym closed, and they just said, you know what? We're done. We're done being closed. And so look at this clip. This is a gym in New Jersey, and a bunch of gym patrons wanted to go in, and the gym wanted to let them in, and everyone wanted to, how about pro-choice for consenting adults, what they do in the privacy of their own gym, right? Take a look at this and how this went down.
Let him speak! Speak your piece and don't worry about it.
We are and we're only here for everybody's safety today. We plan for the worst, hope for the best, and it seems like that's what we have out here today. Normally, you are all in violation of the executive order. On that note, have a good day. Everybody be safe.
They were cheering for freedom. That chant goes on a bit. They start saying, USA, USA. And what's funny about that is that when they had this breakthrough for freedom, when the police backed down in the will of the people and common sense, the word that came to mind was USA, USA, because in their mind, that was synonymous with freedom. Would anyone in our country say, Canada, Canada? It's hard to imagine that happening because the word Canada is not synonymous with freedom, is it? In fact, every instinct of our political class, at least, is to shut things down. So you know, David Menzies had a petition on Monday to keep summer camps open in Ontario. That was shut down. That's when he said, Canada, Canada. You just shut down a huge industry, mainly a family-run industry, ruined the summer for, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands of kids. Canada, Canada. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's very sad to me. Now, Parks and Rec clip, is that fella from Portlandia? I forget his name, that comedian. He's really funny. I didn't know this was Parks and Rec. I just know this guy whose name just escapes me. He's a funny comedian. I know him from Portlandia, and I think he does some Saturday Night Live comedy. He's really funny. And he was doing a clip, a sketch. I don't even know the original context, but this reminds me of the arbitrariness and over-the-topness of these social distancing fines. Take a look at this.
You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail. You're charging too high prices for sweaters, glasses, you right to jail. You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail. You overcook chicken, also jail. Undercook, overcook. You make an appointment with the dentist and you don't show up, believe it or not, jail, right away. We have the best patients in the world because of jail.
That's funny, but it's not so funny when it starts to happen. Hey, I don't think we've shown the Matheson Fight the Fines clip, have we? Oh, you showed it yesterday. Okay, Sheila Gunreed had a great story. I think it's actually our most viral video yet of our Fight the Fines campaign. Why don't we grab just a minute of that? I know it's 12:51. Actually, you know, it was played yesterday. Let's leave it there because we have a couple other things. We've got a lot of super chats. Let's do that. Justin reminds me. All righty. Fat Woolly Temp Worker Hoser Canuck gave $5. Thank you very much. Jack R. $5. A sad day in Canadian politics when we are not voting for, but rather against the worst federal candidate. We now get the best of the worst. I think I maybe read that one already, actually. Derek G. $20. Should we be worried about Justin Trudeau insidiously applying UN Agenda 21 and 30 policies? My fear is we end up with land redistribution just like in South Africa. They took our gun and let Native keep theirs. Justin Trudeau is fully compliant with the United Nations. And can you grab the George Soros Trudeau photo, please? Trudeau's completely compliant with the globalist agenda. Like, there's no daylight between the two of them. In fact, his right-hand woman during this whole pandemic, Theresa Tam, literally works for the United Nations today. She works for the World Health Organization right now. Not she used to work there, she still works there. So whose instructions does she follow? I can assure you that the UN is giving her more attention and direction than lazy Trudeau with his self-quarantine. There is no doubt that Justin Trudeau's fully bought in to the globalism. Here's a picture of him and George Soros meeting very shortly after he became Prime Minister. Who's the boss in that picture? Who's the, hi, I'm leaning forward, I'm a good boy. And who's the man in command of that meeting? Pretty easy to see just the body language. Paul Schofield, $20. Henry V's Asian court speech speaks for many Trumpers in the 2020 U.S. election. He which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. We would not be in that man's company that fears his fellowship to be with us. Exactly. I think, I don't think of that often enough, but that is exactly right. Muzzle Flash, $5. Join the Rebel Alliance. Do not turn to the dark side. Yeah, you know what? Our name Rebel was, of course, rebelling against the technology of the legacy media, rebelling against their narrative. A lot of things we were rebelling against. My kids thought it was like the Star Wars rebels. Some people in the United States think we're maybe the rebels like in the Southern Confederacy. Some people said, are you rebelling as in against God like Lucifer? It's none of those things. It was just we were rebelling against the dominant media narrative, which I call the media party. We've had various mottos throughout the years. Our first was fearless. Fighting for freedom was one of our mottos. And our motto now is telling the other side of the story. So that's what we mean by being rebels. It's 12:54. Let's see if we can, let's look at Karina Gould on the World Health Organization in China. I don't even think I've seen this clip. Let's take a look.
Do you yourself specifically have concerns about the degree to which the WHO relied on Chinese information and data early on?
Well, I think we have to understand and appreciate that the WHO is reliant on all of its member states to provide information, just as we as a federal government are reliant on all the provinces and territories to provide data. And so each member state collects data in a different way. And so, that's one of the challenges of the multilateral system and the limitations of the multilateral system. However, I do think that the WHO did provide, to the best of their ability in as timely a fashion as they could, the most accurate and up-to-date information that they had. I also want to reiterate that, we've only had this virus in our world and interacting with humans for the last 5 months. And so we continue to learn a lot. And we're also seeing different, reactions in different people and different countries. We're learning what those patterns are. I think.
Is she working for the United Nations? Is she working for China? That is a Trudeau cabinet minister, completely compliant with the WHO and China. She is more obedient and submissive to the WHO than the WHO itself, which has admitted getting some things wrong. Unbelievable. It's 12:56, and I want to show you a little bit from Taiwan. Now, I'm not sure which tribute video you're referring to. Is it the inauguration video? Thank you, Justin just briefed me. This is a video that President Tsai of Taiwan tweeted. It's got English in it, right? Okay, let's just watch it for a minute. I don't recall this one. I watch a lot of Taiwan vids, so let's see which one this is. Take a look.
New numbers as this coronavirus spreads. More than 160,000 cases in the United States.
Nous sommes en guerre.
The world has become much quieter. With time, as with the virus, everyone is equal. But people cope in different ways.
我是疾病管制署检疫人员。中国大陆武汉地区发生肺炎疫情，且目前是肺炎、流感好发的季节。为了关心您的健康，依据传染病。
A painful past experience helped us lay a solid foundation. Our insignificance helps us see further.
手指交错，搓一搓。
We constantly seek out a balance with limited resources.
Pakai masker di ruang tertutup ya, Mbak.
人多的地方我们尽量少去。
Kurangi ke tempat yang ramai.
我每天都会定期更新，把最新最完整的资料跟各位来做报告。
还是一个确诊的个案。
Honest people are braver than those who lie to themselves.
要等你回来吃吗？
没有啦，你们先吃吧。
限制出口，国人要用口罩，有口罩足够，自救才能救人。
We deplete our own vitality to safeguard the vitality of others. Even when free, we still keep an appropriate distance. When disciplined, we show respect.
谢谢。
We set a minimal requirement to ensure a normal daily life and equally defend ourselves.
找个朋友不行吗？再有朋友就不要见面。
Underneath a regular rhythm is the heartbeat of our calling. We conceal our faces responsibly, out of love for one another. Our new look makes us more alike and makes it easier for us to...
It goes on for a bit. I haven't watched the whole thing, but it's very interesting. There's a number of things interesting about that. First of all, it shows just how early Taiwan knew there was a deep problem there. Did you hear that one line? Honest people are braver than those who lie to themselves. Who do you think they're talking about? Well, they're talking to Justin Trudeau and Christina Gould and, or Karina Gould, sorry, and Patty Haidu and Theresa Tam. Mainly they're talking about communist China. Honest people are braver than those who lie to themselves. That's a great line. Did you notice there was a scene there where they had something that said FLIR? That stands for forward-looking infrared. So they would check people coming in from China for their temperatures just with this infrared device. And they showed quarantine and tracing and tracking. They didn't lock down the whole country. In fact, I mean, maybe it's changed in a couple weeks since I've interviewed someone from Taiwan. But they said they quarantined only in the tens of thousands of people who came back into the country. They were quarantined. So they had heavy-duty quarantining of people coming into the country, but not 99% of people who were there to begin with. So they had strict borders. You saw them going into the planes, talking to people in the planes, banning flights, quarantining people from the flights, but not Joe and Jane average. That they had masks and they had hand washing and stuff, but they didn't throw the whole country into a lockdown. So much to learn from Taiwan. There's one more super chat, and it's 1 o'clock. TrubyD44 says, keep it up. Thank you, I will. I got through most of the stuff on my list here today. Got through all the super chats, I think. Let me close, as we promised we would, with a dog video. So let me say goodbye to you now. Let me say thanks to you for watching. Thanks to everybody for super chatting. Tomorrow, my colleagues David and Sheila will be back at this desk. And until then, keep fighting for freedom and enjoy this dog video.